Hi, today we're going to investigate what we can do in our paper pattern when we are left with a tiny bit of dot. And you may encounter this problem when you're trying to do drop-down waist, make a wide waistband or yoke, and you're left with a tiny little dot that's in the skirt. So in this example, I've used the front skirt, but you could actually apply this technique on the back skirt, back pants, front pants, and any other situation where you're left with a tiny little dot that you may not want to sew. So let's start. So in this front skirt, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a cutting line to form about a 7 cm tall yoke. So I'll fold off the dot and I'll draw a 7 cm yoke. So this is the yoke. I'll make a copy of it. Open up. I'm left with a tiny dot in the skirt. The first method we're going to use is to eliminate the dot at the side seam. So I'll go ahead and measure the size of the dot that's left over and mark the same value at the side seam and redraw my side seam. I kind of try to blend it back to the original line. So there's no longer a dot in the skirt, and I have to redraw the cutting line for my skirt so it's smooth. So the blue line would be the line for my skirt. So I have my yoke here, and let's do a verification to see that the cutting lines match up. So I'm walking my pieces. Okay. So that's very close. Okay. If you want, you can correct that a little bit and redraw your side. So this is the first method. Now we're going to try a second method. I'm still going to create that 7 cm wide yoke, but I won't fold my dot. So I end up with a small dot in the skirt again. But instead of trying to distribute to the side, now I'll try to shorten the dot. So instead of ending it here, I'll end it at the yoke line. Okay, and I'll redraw the legs of my dot. So there will not be a dot in my skirt anymore, and I actually do not have to make any changes to the skirt. Now I'll try to create my yoke. So that's my yoke. Just make sure you blend the bottom of it where there's a point. So this is the second method. So the third method will be a blend of the first and second method. So I will start with drawing that yoke line again. So I'll go ahead and measure the amount of that. I'll mark half of it at the side and redraw my side seams. And I'll take in a quarter of it on each side of the dart and redraw my dart. I'll construct my yoke on another piece of paper. So this is my yoke, and same as the second method, make sure you blend and smooth the bottom edge of your yoke. So there is a fourth method. So same thing, I'll start with the basic skirt block, and now I'm going to draw my 7 cm wide yoke. This time around I'll choose to do the closed dart method. It doesn't matter whether you choose to draw the yoke line with the dart closed or open. At the end of the day, as long as you true the lines and make sure it's a smooth cutting line, then your objective would have been achieved. So this is my yoke. So it's actually the same yoke as method 1. I'm still left with a tiny dart in my skirt, but this time round I would not sew it, but I would not redistribute it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ease it in. So to help me with that, I'm going to put some notches on the cutting line to help me the construction later on. So I will need to reblend my skirt to make sure it's smooth there. So the fourth method, it's a tailoring technique where I'll be easing the longer length on the skirt into the yoke.